Welcome to the Padres Postgame Show on the Padres Radio Network. Coming up, we'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. We'll take a trip down to the manager's office to hear from Mike Schilt. Plus, we'll bring you scores from around Major League Baseball. The Padres Postgame Show starts now on the Padres Radio Network.
Welcome into our post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score in Boston today, the Red Sox 4 and the Padres 1 as the Padres drop the series finale at Fenway Park. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Padres do win the series. They take 2 out of 3 at Fenway this weekend. Padres do see their 5-game winning streak come to an end. They have still won 9 of 11. Padres dropped to 46 and 42 with the defeat. Red Sox improved to 44 and 39. Lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt coming up in just a little bit. We'll also have all the radio highlights for you and tell you how this one went down in a little while as well. But just some early thoughts for you as we kick off our post-game coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. Obviously, really two things stood out from this game. And look, you're not going to hear me get too crazy about this one. Padres did a great job in this series, the first 2 games, both offensively and pitching-wise. And look, it's hard to sweep series, and the Red Sox, I think we need to remind ourselves, they were playing really good baseball coming into this series. So the fact that you take 2 out of 3, you have another off day before you begin a series in Texas on Tuesday, you will take it. And to me, this is one of those games where you chalk it up to Matt Waldron not being nearly as sharp as what we've seen really for about 2 months. When you really look at some of the numbers, how long he's been good for, really the first time in a span of 10 starts where he has not really delivered just a super fine performance. He wasn't as sharp in this game, gave up a couple of home runs, another run scored in the game on a pass ball. Padres fell behind 4-0. Padres elected to make it a shorter day for Matt Waldron, just 74 pitches for him. He was out of the game when there was 1 out in the bottom half of the 5th inning. And on the other side, offensively, just a quiet day. Good job today by the Red Sox starter, Josh Winkowski. 5 innings, no runs given up. Padres had a scoring chance against him in the second, had the leadoff man on in the 4th inning. They hit into a couple of double plays against Winkowski, leadoff man on in the 5th inning. Padres had some chances in this game, but they only went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. After the first 2 games of this series, they did really nicely in those situations. I think I said pregame it was 9 for 16. Let me go look back at my notes here. What was it? 9 for 16 with runners in scoring position the first 2 games of this series. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. 9 for 16. So 1 for 8 here today. Just a different kind of ball game, right? I mean, the Padres offensively, they did not do what they've done the last couple of days. And Matt Waldron, not as sharp. You fall behind 4-0, and they just could not really get the offense clicking here today. But you take 2 out of 3. You enjoy the off day tomorrow in Texas, and then you play the second half of this 6-game road trip coming up on Tuesday with game 1 of the 3-game series against the Rangers. So a pretty simple game to break down. Starting pitching wise, again, Matt Waldron not nearly as sharp, and the offense really couldn't kick things into gear. But with that said, you'll certainly take 2 out of 3. Bottom line is this: Padres have been playing very good baseball as of late. Still winners of 9 of their last 11 games. They were not going to keep up a pace of winning 9 of every 10. So what you hope now, I think, is this team heads to Arlington and you go win a series there. And if you can go 4-2 at least on this kind of road trip, you'll take that. And I think it's important to note, even though the Rangers are the defending world champions, well, the Rangers are not having a great year. It's been a struggle for them. Right now, they entered today 9 games below 500, believe it or not. You may not realize that because the Rangers obviously won the World Series a year ago, but they entered today 37 and 46. So that has not been the same Texas Rangers team that the Padres will play beginning on Tuesday. We'll talk more about this game on the other side of this break. We'll also hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt as the Padres fall to the Red Sox 4-1 on this Sunday. Our post-game coverage continues after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, the Padres fall 4-1 to the Boston Red Sox on this Sunday. Padres take the first two games of this series. They scored a combined 20 runs on 28 hits with 6 home runs in the first two games of this series, but quite a different offensive day today. Padres did have 8 hits. Red Sox also had 8 hits, but the big difference in this one, 2 of those Red Sox hits were home runs, and really the only hits that produced runs, because the other run scored on a pass ball today for the Red Sox. So that was really the difference in this game, if you want to boil it down to that. The Red Sox had 8 hits, the Padres had 8 hits, and the Red Sox, out of those 8, had 2 home runs, and they took a 4-0 lead. Padres did not get a whole lot going offensively here today. Only guy in the lineup today with more than a single hit was actually Jackson Merrill, who I did not mention in the open, but was certainly another big bright spot in this game for the Padres. 3 hits today. He had a terrific series in Boston, 7 for 13 for Jackson Merrill. 7 for 14 for Jackson Merrill in the 3 games at Fenway Park, with a couple of home runs and a couple of doubles. So he continues to do great things, but unfortunately not enough here today as the Padres fall 4-1. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's recap this game from start to finish.
What moments had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game recap on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's start in the bottom half of the first inning. Matt Waldron on the mound for San Diego. He issued a 2-out walk to Wilyer Abreu. That was costly, as then it was Rafael Devers who dug in.
And a 2-1 pitch hit in the air to left field and deep. Profar will turn around to watch up at the monster, and it's gone. A home run. 2-run shot for Rafael Devers, his second of the series. And the Red Sox have a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first inning. Their first lead since they were up 1-0 in the fourth on Friday.
Meanwhile, right-hander Josh Winkowski got off to a good start for the Red Sox. He pitched 3 scoreless innings to begin his day. In the bottom half of the third, Waldron got the first 2 outs of the inning, but then back-to-back singles from Abreu and Devers put runners on first and third. Waldron threw a 2-1 knuckleball that Kyle Higashioka couldn't handle, a passed ball as it went to the backstop. Abreu scored from third, and the Red Sox had a 3-0 lead. Red Sox still led 3-0 in the bottom of the fifth inning. Jarren Duran led off.
1-1 pitch hit in the air deep down the right field line towards the pole. Gone. A home run. Jarren Duran, a lead shot here in the fifth inning. He has gone deep back-to-back games. Kind of a carbon copy shot down that right field line, and the Red Sox lead is 4-0.
Waldron would get one more out, then he was taken out at 74 pitches. Waldron gave up 4 runs in 4 innings and a third. Wandy Peralta finished the 5th inning. Stephen Kolek pitched the scoreless 6th inning. Padres still trailed 4-0 going to the 7th. Jackson Merrill hit a 1-out double against Red Sox reliever Justin Sladen. That was Merrill's 3rd hit of the afternoon. Ha-Sung Kim was next.
3-1 to Kim. The pitch is swung on and hit fair up the left field line. That's going to roll to the corner. Merrill racing around third. He scores easily. Kim into second base. It's an RBI double. And the Padres are on the board here in the 7th inning. It's 4-1.
That was all the Padres got in the 7th inning. Meanwhile, we went to the bottom half of the 7th inning. In that frame, Adrian Morejon, a scoreless inning. Padres did not score in the top of the 8th inning, despite getting a 1-out single from Jerks and Profar. It was Jeremiah Estrada, a scoreless bottom half of the 8th inning to keep it 4-1. Closer Kenley Jansen came on for the Red Sox in the top of the 9th inning. He recorded a 1-2-3 inning to pick up the save, his 16th of the season, and that was that. Padres trailed 4-0 early. They were able to make it 4-1, but that's as close as they would get. Final totals in this one for the Red Sox: 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors. They left on 6. For the Padres, 1 run, 8 hits, no errors. They left on 6 as well. The winner, Josh Winkowski, who's 2-1. Matt Waldron takes the loss. He drops to 5-7. Padres now 46-42 on the year. Red Sox improve to 44-39. Still a lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt coming up in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. We'll also cycle through some of our daily awards. If you want to get involved, you can do that as well. You can tweet at me or Instagram DM me at SammyLev, SammyLev. You can let me know what you thought about this game, what you thought about this series. If you want to get a phone call in, you can always do that as well, 833-288-0973. Final score, Red Sox 4, Padres 1. Our post-game show continues after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Padres fall 4-1 to the Boston Red Sox on this Sunday afternoon. Padres do win 2 out of 3 in Boston over the weekend, so you'll certainly take that. Padres do see their 5-game win streak come to an end. Padres still have won 9 of 11, but a tough one here today. Padres fell behind 4-0 after it was Rafael Devers, another home run in this series, a 2-run shot in the first inning to make it 2-0. Red Sox scored another run in the third, then they got a home run from Jarren Duran in the fifth inning, and 4-0 Padres trailed. They got one back. Jackson Merrill with a double, 1 out in the seventh inning. He would score on a double from Ha-Sung Kim to make it 4-1, but that was it. As that was as close as the Padres would get in this game. This was actually a really, really nice series for the Padres bullpen. Let's talk a little bit more about it as we tell you about today's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher was able to come in and slam the door shut? It's time for the relief pitcher of the game in support of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, providing food assistance to local children, families, and seniors in need. To get help or give help, visit SanDiegoFoodBank.org.
Our relief pitcher of the game here today, we have a lot of different options to choose from, and we'll keep it on the Padres side of things because we can. Kolek scoreless inning, Morjon scoreless inning, Estrada scoreless inning. Peralta got 2 outs in this game, so who do we go with here today? The only guy out of the bullpen that did not allow a base runner was Estrada in the 8th inning, so how about we give it to Jeremiah Estrada for that reason. Scoreless inning, nice job for Jeremiah, and he's a relief pitcher of the game for that reason. We'll keep it on the Padres side of things here today because the bullpen was actually, you kind of zoom out here, look at this series. Aside from, obviously, the first 2 games, the offense was a huge bright spot. What they did, just incredible first 2 games of this series. But the bullpen sort of quietly had a great series. You weren't overly focused on it the first 2 games because the Padres were up by so much, so it just didn't seem like all that high leverage, right? But you kind of zoom out here, and pardon me, I'm going to do some quick math as we just look back here. It was 4 scoreless innings here today between Peralta, Kolek, Morjon, and Estrada. Yesterday was 3 scoreless innings between Matsui, Davis, and De Los Santos. So that's 7 scoreless innings right there. And then on Friday, you had 5 innings. Yeah, 5 innings scoreless. 5 innings scoreless between Peralta, Kolek, Davis, and Matsui. And remember, that was the situation where Vasquez gets hit in the forearm with the line drive right back at him and had to come out of the game. So Peralta had to come in very, very quickly, get warmed up, and he would give up a run, just a home run in that game to Devers to start the 6th inning in that game. But you look at it, so that is a combined 12 innings and 1 run given up for the Padres bullpen in this series. So it was a very, very nice series for the bullpen. And look, that's a nice bright spot. Hopefully a sign of things to come for this bullpen as they'll have an off day to reset the pen tomorrow, then back at it on Tuesday in Arlington. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt. Looking forward to seeing what Mike has to say after this one. Much more to do out of town scoreboard as we continue to wrap this one up. Final score, Red Sox 4, Padres 1. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Padres fall 4-1 to the Boston Red Sox. They drop this series finale. Still a lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. We'll also have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Continue to break down and discuss this game. If you want to get involved, you can do that in a number of different ways. Social media. Tweet at me, Instagram, DM me at SammyLev, SammyLev. You can also get a phone call in if you want, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. And, of course, for those of you watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you can comment there as well. I'll address some of your comments and all of that coming up in just a little bit. Obviously, today, Matt Waldron, not nearly as sharp as what we've seen or got accustomed to. 4 innings in the third here today. 4 runs given up. 3 of those earned. I should mention that. One of the runs was unearned, and it was because there was a passed ball that led to a run scoring in the third inning. That was even a rarity today, kind of a weird part of today's game. We've seen Kyle Higashioka be so good behind the plate with Matt Waldron, and he was charged with 2 passed balls today on knuckleballs. And I say that not to be critical of Higgy at all. It's really, really hard, and he's done such an exceptional job of catching Waldron that when there is a passed ball, when there is a miscue, when he can't catch one cleanly, and the 2 he missed were just nasty knuckleballs. It's a really hard thing to do, and, you know, he's been so good that when he doesn't catch it, you're kind of shocked. So it's really a credit to Higgy, but that did lead to a run scoring here today. The 2 home runs, one by Rafael Devers, one by Jarren Duran later in the game. And again, the Red Sox took a 4-0 lead. Padres would get a run on back-to-back doubles from Merrill and Kim in the 7th inning to make it 4-1. That would be as close as they would get. Padres went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They had some opportunities in this game. 2 on in the second, leadoff man on in the third, leadoff man on in the 4th inning, leadoff man on in the 5th, leadoff man on in the 6th inning. The back-to-back doubles in the 7th. They got 1 run there, 1 out single in the 8th inning. So it wasn't like the Padres were totally shut down here today. They did have 8 hits, but unlike what we saw the first 2 games of this series, the Padres just weren't able to string anything together today. There was no sort of a consistency in getting those hits, in the span of 4, 5, 6 batters, which, my goodness, we saw the first 2 games of this series. So like I said in the opening segment, look, I don't think you can get too crazy about this one. Sure, a sweep would have been great. A 6th straight win would have been great. Winning 10 out of 11 would have been great. But you won the series against the Red Sox team that at the start of this series was playing really well. You beat Tanner Houck yesterday, and now you have an off day tomorrow. You go to Arlington. You go and try to make it a winning road trip. And as long as you can do that, I think you'll certainly take that right now if you're a Padres fan, considering on the whole how well this team has played lately despite some of these major injuries. All right, let's go back to Boston in Fenway Park and hear some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Pretty straightforward, Mike. Got some guys on. Couldn't get them in.
Yeah. I mean, I think, they got the lead, put some swings on Waldy. Were able to add on a little bit. Had some guys on, just couldn't cash in. It was a good series. Bullpen was really good. Comes in, Wandy gets his guys, and Kolwick with the clean 6, and Morejon and Estrada got out there and got some work, so that was good and clean, and with zeros. So just couldn't push enough to cross today.
What did you think of Waldron?
I thought he was, trying to corral the knuckleball a little bit today. The sweeper was good, fastball was good. Just a few knuckleballs and a few fastballs they were able to put some barrels on. But overall, I thought he was good. Usually gets better as the game goes, so weighing that out. But looked like they had a good plan, and they got some balls to hit, and they didn't miss them.
Talked about this a little bit with Ruben about kind of just the nature of the knuckleball and the unpredictability of it. Like, is it also true that sometimes it just it goes to maybe into a hitter's sweet spot, that kind of thing? It's kind of hard to.
I think all that. I mean, sometimes the ball just goes where the barrel goes. Not to minimize anybody's ability to get the barrel on it, but it's a tough pitch to barrel as we've seen. So, But if it's flatter, it can have a lot of movement. I mean, early on, it was dancing all over the place. But also there's ones that you're going to throw just like any pitch that don't have as much life to it.
Mike, you've been playing so well, and things have come together. Wins. Game like this, it just happens. Where don't get guys in, pitcher kind of gets roughed up a little bit. It's not one you have to think too much about. I'm
not. No, our guys have been playing great. The other side tries too, So, I mean, I thought the series went really well, and they played a good ball game. I don't know what else to say.
Who's pitching in Texas?
We'll announce it later.
Okay.
All right, that was Padres manager Mike Shildt. After today's game, Padres fall 4-1 to the Boston Red Sox. You heard the question there about the upcoming rotation, and the Padres have not announced that yet. We do have the Rangers rotation for you. Padres haven't announced it yet, and there could be, and I'll get into this in our next segment, there could be a number of reasons for that, and mainly because of the Randy Vasquez situation. So we'll talk about it in our next segment as we preview the upcoming series, but I think that's the reasoning there for the question, and maybe why the Padres have not released their rotation for the series against the Rangers. And look, I thought just some of the interaction there at the end with Mike Shildt, I just thought it brought this sort of popped into my head. I mean, look, the Padres have been playing great baseball, and like I've said a couple of times, today, no big deal. You lost 4-1. Offense couldn't cash in a couple of times, couldn't string it together like you did the last 2 days. Matt Waldron, not as sharp. It happens, right? And even just for Matt Waldron, he'd been so good. He had a sub-2 ERA in his last 9 starts coming into today's game. I mean, it happens. I mean, yesterday, Tanner Houck came in with a 2.18 ERA, had given up 2 home runs all year, and the Padres tagged him for 8 runs and 3 home runs in 4 innings. Okay, Matt Waldron's not going to be superb every time out. So today, to me, is no big deal. You take the series win, you go on to Arlington. Here is where it does get a little interesting, though. And this is I'm just saying this because of the up and down nature of this season so far. You don't want the game today, for whatever reason, to then turn into a downward slope, if you will, because we have seen that before. It has been, now the Padres haven't done anything like win 9 out of 10 before this most recent stretch, where I said it in the pregame. To me, when you go 9-1 in a span of 10 games, you're hot. Like, that is playing great baseball. That's a hot team. And you can remain hot even if you lose game number 11 and you're 9-2 in 11 games, okay? You certainly can. That doesn't mean the Padres still aren't hot. But what I will be monitoring for sure is what do they do in Arlington, just like all of us will, because we have seen, right, stretches where the Padres have looked great and played really well, followed up by stretches of 5-6 games. And my goodness, in the month of June, if I just went through it, and I'll do that in our next segment as well, let me tally it up during the break. But we have seen them go from seemingly playing really, really well to playing really, really not well at all very quickly. So to me, if I'm a Padres fan, what I want to see this series in Arlington, I'm not saying you got to sweep the Rangers, a team that is 9 games below 500, but they are the defending World Series champs. You just want to see the Padres continue to play well, go win the series, make it a winning road trip, then get back home to a place where you've played exceptionally well as of late. So, again, we'll be monitoring it, right? You hope, I think at bare minimum, you hope this most recent stretch, winning 9 out of 10 before today, can catapult this team to avoiding the other side of what we've seen this season, the quick downward slope, after playing really well. That's what you're looking for. So we'll see what transpires in Arlington. Padres have an off day tomorrow. They begin that series on Tuesday. And again, we'll sort of wrap up June, and we'll also kind of take a look at that series coming up in our next segment. Let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on around the major leagues.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores today from around the major leagues. We have a number of finals already today. Cardinals blank the Reds 2-0 in St. Louis. Royals beat the Guardians 6-2 in Kansas City. Brewers over the Cubs 7-1 in Milwaukee. Rays beat the Nationals 5-0 in Tampa. Yankees beat the Blue Jays 8-1 in Toronto. Phillies beat the Marlins 7-6 in Philadelphia. Pirates beat the Braves 4-2 in Atlanta. Games going on right now. A weird one in New York right now. Astros had a 4-0 lead late in that game against the Mets at Citi Field. Mets came back to tie it at 4. They got a 2-run home run from Brandon Nimmo in the bottom half of the 8th inning to tie it at 4. They're now in a rain delay as they begin the bottom half of the 9th inning at Citi Field. So it's a 4-4 game, bottom 9 coming up, a rain delay in New York right now. Probably the same rain that we saw in Boston, but we were able to get the whole game in. Rockies and the White Sox tied at 3, 11th inning in Chicago. Giants leading the Dodgers 3-0 in San Francisco in the 3rd. Tigers and the Angels in Anaheim. Tigers 1, Angels nothing. Bottom half of the 3rd there. Twins ahead of the Mariners 1-0 in Seattle. Top 3 there. A's and the Diamondbacks in Arizona, 4th inning there, and one game yet to begin, the Rangers and the Orioles at 4 p.m. in Baltimore. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday. When we come back, we'll tell you about our player of the game, have our play of the game, preview the upcoming series against the Rangers. More to come on our post-game coverage. Again, the final score, Red Sox 4, Padres 1 on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as the Padres fall 4-1 to the Boston Red Sox on this Sunday afternoon. Padres do win 2 out of 3 from the Sox, and they will enjoy an off day tomorrow in Arlington, Texas. I don't know if the Padres stay in Arlington, but it'll be in the DFW area, I'm sure somewhere. So enjoy what would I would imagine. I want to look up the temperature, how hot it's going to be on July 1st in the DFW area tomorrow. But they'll enjoy the off day tomorrow, and then they will then move on to playing the Rangers Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the defending World Series champions. And we'll preview and give you the game times for Tuesday in a moment and throughout this series. But we did mention this before the break, and it's worth bringing up again. The Padres have not announced their rotation for the series in Arlington, and there's likely a really good reason for that because Randy Vasquez, right, gets hit in the right forearm with the line drive on Friday. Had to come out of the game, came out with a right forearm contusion. X-rays were negative. That was good news, but you knew at the time that you're just not sure if he's going to be able to make his next scheduled start. His next scheduled start, okay, if the Padres stayed on rotation, even with the off day tomorrow, his next scheduled start would be Thursday, right? Because you'd have, if the Padres did everything as normal, it would be Adam Mazur on Tuesday, it'd be Dylan Cease on Wednesday, it'd be Vasquez on Thursday. So I would imagine the reason the Padres have not announced anything yet is because they may not, and I'm just speculating here, they may not yet be sure what the deal is with Vasquez. And so, if Vasquez, let's just live in this world. If Vasquez does not, or he can't pitch on Thursday, well, then you sort of have to figure out what you want to do. And who is making that start? How does that affect everybody else? If you have somebody you want to, let's say, even call up from the minor leagues to make that start, well, how does that affect the rest of your rotation? What rotation is, what day of the week is that guy falling on? So, look, they could decide to start somebody, before Thursday, push other guys back. Again, I'm just totally spitballing and speculating here, but, the Vasquez part of it is in all likelihood what they're waiting on here to see if Randy's going to be available for Thursday. And look, it may also be a situation where, by the time Tuesday rolls around, maybe they don't even know yet what Vasquez's status is. The problem is that you would imagine going into this series, in order to plan and understand what you got to do, they may need that answer a few days out. So, again, I'm just totally speculating here, but that's, they got to figure out what the rotation may look like with or without Vasquez, pitching, let's say, on Thursday, which would have been his day if everything stayed on turn. So we'll see what the deal is. I'm sure we'll get that info at some point tomorrow, I'd imagine, from the Padres on what the rotation will look like moving forward into that series in Arlington. Well, it's another beautiful day for a ball game, and Military Sunday at that. San Diego County Toyota dealers are proud partners of the Padres and supporters of San Diego's military community. Thank you to all military members for your incredible service. Let's tell you about today's player of the game.
Which player had the biggest impact on today's game? Let's find out who is today's player of the game. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Catch every game at Patties and Pints. Plus, enjoy $4 beer every Thursday. Visit valleyviewcasino.com today.
Our player.
The 2-1 pitch hit in the air to left field and deep. Profar will turn around to watch up at the monster, and it's gone. A home run. 2-run shot for Rafael Devers, his second of the series. And the Red Sox have a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first inning. Their first lead since they were up 1-0 in the fourth on Friday.
Rafael Devers will be our player of the game. Devers, the 2-run home run in the first inning, gave the Red Sox a 2-0 lead. had a single later in the game, 2 hits in this game. So Devers will be our player of the game here today on the Padres Radio Network. Jackson Merrill on the Padres side of things had a really, really great day. 3 hits in this game. He would finish this series 7 for 14 at Fenway Park with a couple of doubles, 2 home runs, 3 hits in this series or in today's game, and a run scored as well. So certainly a tip of the cap to Jackson Merrill, who went to the ballpark. That he was a fan of the Red Sox, as we've described many times growing up. His dad was a big Red Sox fan. His mom was sitting in center field on Friday night. He hit a home run that almost landed in her lap. So very, very cool series for Merrill. He was 7 for 14, including a team-leading 3 hits here today. All right, let's now hear today's play of the game.
What was the crucial play that determined who came out on top? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
1-1 pitch, hit in the air, deep down the right field line, towards the pole, gone, a home run. Jarren Duran, a lead shot here in the 5th inning. He has gone deep back-to-back games, kind of a carbon copy shot down that right field line, and the Red Sox lead is 4-0.
Our play of the game is Jarren Duran's home run. The solo shot in the 5th inning made it 4-0. That's our play of the game. So, unfortunately, here today, a couple of Red Sox highlights for you as the Padres fall 4-1 into, hey, that kind of day. Padres did have a bright spot offensively in the 7th with the Ha-Seong Kim RBI double. Back-to-back doubles for Merrill and Kim in the 7th inning made it 4-1. But Duran, the home run for the Red Sox, the home run for Rafael Devers as well. Early, Padres trailed 2-0 in this game. They could not really recover after that as the Red Sox would jump out to a 4-0 lead. All right, before we preview Tuesday's game, and again, we don't know the starting pitcher, not officially yet, for the Padres on Tuesday in Boston. In Arlington. So we'll tell you about the game times and all that in just a moment. I did just want to wrap up sort of the month of June for the Padres, and it kind of goes back to our conversation on the Padres now. And they've won 9 of 11, and they're playing really well. And the Padres now, what you're looking for is to avoid that sort of downward trend, if you will, right? The downward slope after a period of time where they've played really, really well. Because you look at, let's say, the month of June, right? Let's just break down the month of June, kind of just stretch by stretch. The Padres, remember, they started June with a win on Saturday in Kansas City. That was 5 wins in 6 games, okay? When they won Saturday in Kansas City, you might remember that Sunday in Kansas City, they had an opportunity to sweep the Royals. That was the game where Yuki Matsui got in trouble in the 9th inning and could not find a way to close it out, and the Padres ended up losing that game 4-3. Well, that right there was the start of a 5-game losing skid, okay? To begin, they won the first game of June, but after that, it was a 5-game losing skid. From that point on, the Padres won 5 of 6. That was through the Oakland series. Then they went on the road and lost 5 in a row, 3 at the Mets, 2 in Philadelphia, 5 in a row. And then after that, remember, they won that final game of the series in Philadelphia, and then they came home this most recent homestand, went 6-1. That was the start, that win in Philly, of this 9 out of 11 stretch that brings us to today. So my point being, just as I described that, again, to sort of recap it quickly, they won the first game of June. That made it 5 wins in 6 games, but then they lost 5 in a row. They won 5 of 6. They lost 5 in a row and ended the month of June by winning 9 of 11. So it goes back to the point about this upcoming series in Texas where, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Padres. They've played great. But to me, now the question becomes, can the Padres avoid a loss today turning into the seesaw nature of what they've been to this point, right? Where sometimes just one loss at the end of a really nice stretch has led to a losing streak, has led to a bad stretch. And to me, They're playing great. Now you got to go to Arlington. You don't have to sweep the series, but go win the series and keep on moving above 500. Keep going in the right direction. Don't allow that roller coaster nature to now go back down. Keep it up. Keep it up. No downward, no downward trajectory at all. So that's just a quick point on that. All right, before we tell you about Tuesday's game, let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up on the Padres Radio Network. So what's coming up? Well, off day tomorrow for the Padres. Then they begin a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers on Tuesday in Arlington, Texas. The game times, just so you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday at 5:05 p.m. Pacific time. Wednesday at 5:05. Thursday at 11:35 a.m. Our pregame coverage on Tuesday will begin at 4:05 p.m. Like we alluded to earlier, Padres have not yet officially announced their pitching plans for the series, so right now TBA on Tuesday as far as the starting pitcher, but it will be right-hander Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for the Rangers on Tuesday. Again, first pitch at 5:05, pregame coverage at 4:05. As always, if you missed any of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. Taking a look at the final totals in this one here today. For the San Diego Padres, 1 run, 8 hits, no errors. They left on 6. For the Red Sox, 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors. They left on 6 as well. Winning pitcher in this game, Josh Winkowski, who improves to 2-1. Losing pitcher was Matt Waldron, who drops to 5-7. And the save goes to veteran right-hander Kenley Jansen, his 16th of the year. Time of game, 2 hours and 28 minutes, and the crowd at Fenway Park on a rainy Sunday in Boston, Massachusetts, 30,665. Once again, first pitch on Tuesday at 5:05 in Texas. Our pregame coverage will begin at 4:05. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Frank Marchese, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score here today, the Boston Red Sox 4 and the San Diego Padres 1. We'll talk to you on Tuesday on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great rest of your Sunday.